Yes,
Yes,
please.
sir.
Let's. Oh, are you live right now?
We are. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Just stick to the script. Okay.
We'll do.
Oh. Okay. You're frozen, Alice.
Yeah. Of course. Come on. What just happened? Okay, let me start by saying this. Hello, y'all. The devil is a lie. All right.
The lie. The lie.
Okay. I'm like, in the middle of trying to get this show started. He want to act a fool. Whoo. Woo, sorry. Hello.
Breathe. Breathe.
That's why my blood pressure going up. That's why I got you here, Dr. Candace. All right. Good evening, hello, and welcome to another program here on BlackDoctor.org. I am Ellis Dean, the Director of Digital Programming and Production here on Black Doctor. Lord, y'all don't know what's going on behind these scenes in these streets. So, um, this is a program that is near and dear to me. Number one, for several reasons. Number one, my mother suffers from high blood pressure, takes medication, full disclosure. Um, I have noticed that my blood pressure has been going up here recently, and I don't know if it's stress related, food related, age related, or all a combination of all three. And number three, the specialist that we have today is a friend of many years, and so I just am so it pleases me so to see her get all of the accolades and the flowers that is well deserved because she is a warrior and a champion for Black folks in this space. And so I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Candace White. She is the esteemed lifestyle doc with an unwavering passion for holistic well being. Dr. White stands at the forefront of healthcare, armed with her vast knowledge as a board certified primary care physician and wellness coach. Her mission? To empower individuals like you to take charge of their health, prevent disease, and live their best lives through the transformative power of lifestyle. Dr. Candace White is not your average doctor. She is a wife, mother, author, international speaker, and was recognized as an Atlanta top doctor 3 years in a row. While she possesses an exceptional understanding of traditional medicine, she goes beyond the conventional approach by recognizing the pivotal role that lifestyle plays in our overall well being. She firmly believes that prevention is the key to a vibrant and fulfilling life, and she is dedicated to helping her patients embrace healthy habits and make sustainable lifestyle changes. Welcome, Dr. White.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellis. Thank you so much for having me. It's gonna be all right. We're gonna have a great show.
I know we are because we got you on there. So, what I want to do is people that are watching us, thank you for watching us. Let us know where you're watching from. Drop that in the comments section. We like to know where people are watching us from all over the country, all over the world, because everybody could need this information. And that leads me to point number two. If you know somebody that needs this information, like my mother, she might be watching right now because I am streaming this to my personal page. If you know somebody needs this information, share this with them. Put this on your page, tag them, let them know, hey, we're talking about getting that pressure down on this program. And then number three, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. You have a wonderful lifestyle, healthy lifestyle expert here online. So make sure this is where you can get your questions asked in a safe space. And then getting that knowledge to where you, when you go to your primary care physician, you're armed with better information that y'all can start building a better relationship because now you can advocate better for yourself and for your pressure. So that's the three things I need. I see some folks. I see Jackson, Mississippi. Look
All
here,
right.
Mississippi. Look here. I know about y'all. Look, Jackson, come on now. And I go Burlington, New Jersey. So keep the cities dropping. I see you, Gerard. Thank you for jumping in. Um, First thing we're going to talk about first question I'm going to ask you is a simple thing. What is blood pressure and what do those numbers mean? Because they keep telling us every time I go to the doctor, I get that thing to squeeze on my arm, and then they give me two numbers, and they say one something over something something, and then they move on. And it wasn't until I started working here that I said, oh, those numbers really mean something. So help our audience understand what is blood pressure and what those numbers mean so they can get a better understanding when they go to the doctor.
Yes, thank you. So blood pressure refers to the force that is exerted on our blood vessel walls. And there are two numbers that you have to focus on. That systolic number, that's the top number. And then you have the diastolic number, that is the bottom number. Now, that top number represents how your body contracts and ejects blood throughout your entire body. So typically that top number will be higher. And then the diastolic number, which is that bottom number, represents how the blood feels in between beats. So that number is typically lower. So a normal force in those blood pressure in the blood vessel walls is 120 over 80, less than, okay? So less than 120 over 80. You have to know your numbers because what happens is when your blood pressure elevates now to greater than, let's say 130 over 80, now you're at a stage 1. Did you hear me? A stage 1 blood pressure level. And when your blood pressure is elevated, that means your heart has to work too hard. And when your heart has to work too hard, that can cause your heart muscles to get bigger and lead to cardiovascular disease. So that is the force in your blood vessel walls. That is what blood pressure is.
Okay. And so, unlike on Star Wars, the force is not always good, right? So we got to keep that force. We got to keep that force down. So, what are some ways that people can keep that blood pressure down, to keep that down to 120? Because I know there's medications.
Of course.
However, there are things that we can be doing in our lifestyle to naturally lower and keep our blood pressure low. What are those things that we could be doing?
Absolutely. So the first thing we have to do is we have to check in with ourselves, right?
Mm.
Because we know being a person of color in America can already lead to certain stressors, right? Then you have
Mm-hmm.
work, you have responsibilities. If you're in the job force, you're feeling overwhelmed. So stress can lead to elevated pressure. So we have to check in with ourselves and find out, number one, how are we doing? How are you feeling? Because if you are anxious and or stressed, that can cause your blood pressure to be up. And just to break it down a little bit for us, because we all deal with a little bit of stress. But you know what? When you're under chronic stress, Ellis, what happens is we activate our fight or flight system, which is at
Mm-hmm.
a neurological level. Now, fight or flight, y'all know what fight or flight is? That's if, let's say, somebody was robbing you at gunpoint
Right.
or you were running from a bear, your
Right.
flight system activates and releases cortisol, adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
Once the threat leaves, that pressure then is supposed to reset. But with chronic stress or pressure, it never turns off. So now you have the issue of effects of elevated numbers. And that is what leads to the hypertension over time if we don't control those things. So, starting today with 5 minutes of meditation, just believe it or not, breathing can help to reset your body. So mindfulness, starting that out every morning when you wake up, just breathe. Take a moment to have gratitude, claim with positive affirmations that you are going to have a good day despite the challenges that you may run into. That can help. Something as simple as physical activity, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. The American Heart Association states if you can do 30 minutes of cardio a day, so I'm not asking you to go run a marathon. You
Mm-hmm.
can literally just walk for 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. You say, well, I don't like to walk. I don't feel safe in my neighborhood. You could get that stationary QB, that little that pedal that sits on the ground, and you could pedal. You could
Mm.
in between commercial breaks. You could watch your favorite show, Family Feud. My parents love some Family Feud. And on those 5-minute breaks, you could pedal. So just think, if you were to do 5 minutes in between commercials on something like a QB or a stationary bike, and you
Hmm.
did that 5 times within a day or within a show that you were watching for 1 hour, you've already gotten in 25 minutes. And I just told you, if you get 30 minutes 5 days a week, you've checked a box to heart health. And we also, you know what, you all, we have to watch our salt. We eat way too much salt,
Mm.
the sodium. And the issue too is we're eating a lot of fast food. We can't control what's in it, right?
Right.
So we have to know our numbers. And to do that, you got to have a cuff. So you can actually be monitoring your blood pressure to see how these foods are negatively impacting your health. So cleaning up the diet by eating more fresh fruits and vegetables.
Black folks. All right. So you bringing up a great point, because that was my next question. There have been some reporting that African Americans or people of African descent have a salt sensitivity.
Yes.
So, what is the recommended amount of salt for, let's say that's recommended by the general sense? And
Yes.
then, should Black people be reducing that recommended amount because there is some reporting of salt sensitivity in people of African descent?
That is an excellent question, because if you read a lot of different labels, you'll see in some places where the recommended amount is like 2,300 milligrams, no more than 2,300 milligrams of salt per day, which is around about a teaspoon that is not heaping. But for salt sensitive people, which we've just alluded to, that people of color are salt sensitive, not eating more than 1,500 milligrams of salt per day is the recommendation. So that is literally a fourth of a teaspoon.
Mm.
A fourth of a teaspoon. And I always get the question about, well, what about like table salt versus my pink Himalayan salt versus my, guess what? Yes, does your pink Himalayan salt have some minerals in there? It sure does. But guess what? It is still salt. So we
Right.
have to monitor the amount of salt that we're actually taking in. And we got to start reading our labels. Because think about it. I don't know about y'all, but in college, I used to tear those ramen noodles up.
Woo!
And but you know what? I always said the first time I used the whole pack, I couldn't hardly taste. It was like, it's real. Because you know why? That thing actually has your daily recommended amount in one pack.
In one pack.
In
Yes.
one pack. And that's another reason why, because we're not paying attention to our diet,
Yeah.
why our blood pressure. And that's something you can control. So
Mm.
think no more than 1,500 milligrams of salt per day. No more.
1,500, boy. I mean, that you might cut that in half by just a bowl of cereal in the morning. Because I mean, and I'm joking, but there is salt hidden in everything, especially foods
Yes.
that are prepackaged and pre-prepared food. So we've got to understand that reading labels is
Reading labels.
important to your health.
It
Eating
is.
fresh, eating fresh fruits and vegetables will help eliminate that salt intake, because you have to add salt. Now, we understand in Southern Black cuisine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it 100, folks. Black folks, we like some salt. We got our Lowry's, okay. We got our Caesar salt,
Our
some
Creole seasoning.
our Creole season, Tony Shashby. Look, I
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it's in there. I even got the pink Himalayan. I got the kosher. I got the C. I got all them salts. Right? We live and die by them. We
Yeah.
like the salt cured porks,
Yeah.
bacon. We like
Yes.
the ham hock. All those porks have been salt cured, so you're getting salt in your diet. How do we gradually shift that diet away from? Because for me, it was a taste thing. Like for my wife for Mother's Day, I made breakfast and I
Sweet.
was reducing salt, right? And I'm
Okay.
eating the food, and I'm like, it needs some salt. And she was like, no, it doesn't, because I've been trained to
Yeah,
having
you've been
salt in my
trained.
diet. So how do we deprogram our taste buds to not seek and search for salt when we're eating?
Yeah. So this is what we got to get be creative, y'all. So spices and herbs. Let me tell y'all, I might cook healthy, but my food tastes good. Just because you eat healthy, it does not mean that your food cannot taste good. So garlic is a great one. Garlic has great vasodilatory benefits. What that means is garlic has the ability to cause your blood vessels to vasodilate, so widen, so that the blood pressure goes down. So using a lot of garlic, fresh herbs, Mrs. Dash seasoning. I love even garlic powder. This is one that I love. It comes from the Whole Food Market, but it's basically just all fresh cut up vegetables that have been dried, and you can use these things as seasonings. So Miss Dash, like I stated, is a great one. Garlic is a great one, but just think that also potassium rich foods work against the sodium. A lot of great potassium rich foods and also good for cholesterol would be avocado. Have you ever tried avocado? It is delicious. Spinach, sweet potatoes, bananas. That's easy. Tomatoes, beans, lentils, broccoli, papaya. So really what it takes, Ellis, is getting organized, going into your pantry, really identifying those foods that you know are not healthy. If it's a canned good, it's high in sodium. We just said if you can't afford to always get the fresh vegetables and the fruit because they kind of can go bad, you can balance half of it out by getting some frozen ones that are organic. And you can use that to kind of supplement. That's another way. Instead of the fried chicken that grandma used to love to make, air fryers. The air fryer has changed the game. And let me tell y'all, with that panko crust that you can usually make, I'm telling y'all, it's good. It has an air fry feature. It's great. We just have to shift our mindset and understand that our bodies deserve that, because whenever you put this processed food, this high sugary food in your body, it slows everything down. It makes you feel sluggish, fatigue. You're trying to figure out why I feel so tired. You know why? Because the things that you're putting in your body is poisoning your system. Literally. Did you know that the red meat in that pork, a lot of that has been associated with colon cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, causing your gut to be inflamed? So doing things like if you can't always get it in your food, I say doing like a multivitamin, doing a pro or prebiotic for gut health. Those are things that you can do in a daily serving of fruit and vegetables daily. If you eat meat, it should be lean, like chicken or fish. You should not be cooking with margarine. You should be using extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil.
Yeah.
Really just about us identifying these behaviors and then replacing those with positive ones that are going to give us longevity and heart health.
You're speaking my language right now, Doc. Because I see you, Casey. Yes, she said yes. Fresh avocado is very good for blood pressure. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't eat avocado for a long time until fairly recently. And I said,
Really?
you know what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good,
And I
good,
said, you know
good.
what? I gotta break this down. I gotta break through some food barriers because it's healthy. And I hear it's a super food. It's super food. And I said, you know what? It's got that good fats that you need
Yeah.
to control your cholesterol, and it helps control that blood pressure. And I found out, you know what? All of that stuff was mental,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I ate it and I was like, oh, this is fantastic,
Yeah.
right? Oh,
Salmon's another good fish. Salmon
yes.
and mackerel. Salmon, has the omega-3 DEA. It's so good for our heart health, the omega fatty acids. So just like you stated, changing and shifting our mindset. By the
Mhm.
fact that we want to live a longer and healthier life, then we need to be feeding our body with that nutrition.
Yeah, Cheryl is she put it. She said 2 days ago, I just put on
And what a
alongadine. Yeah, for high blood pressure. I always eat clean because of my breast cancer. No fried food. I hardly eat out. Um, and just before you address that, just want to say, hey, this conversation is for entertainment purposes only. Is not meant to diagnose or supplement any uh, recommendations you get from your primary care physician. So do not stop taking your medication until you have this conversation. But just we're going to try to help her get some other ways to help her lower that blood pressure, right? So you didn't mention how much you're exercising. We talked about that earlier in the programming. And Dr. White talked about that. Exercise, that meditation, that's the piece I need to add, right?
Yes.
Breathing, that
Breathing.
slowing down that breathing, slowing down can help lower your blood pressure. So, really,
Yes.
what are some other things that can help her supplement? She's got medication to help that,
Yes.
but it sounds like she wants to be able to lower it on her own. Um,
Mhm.
what are some other things outside of the breathing? I think it should be some breathing, some exercise
Yeah.
that can help her.
So the first thing with anybody who's been started on medication is that you need to monitor your blood pressure. So you need
Mm,
to know where your numbers are before you take your medication. And then also 2 to 3 hours after is a great time to check. You can check it in the morning, you can check it in the evening. We also call mask hypertension where blood, because your blood pressure can fluctuate. So you need to know your numbers. What was her name again? You need to know your numbers,
Cheryl.
Carol. So once you know your numbers, now we have something to work with. So let's say, you were placed on medication because you had stage 1 or stage 2 hypertension. Now
Mm,
you're on medication and you started making lifestyle adjustments. So for instance, let's say you are only like, how many times are you exercising? If you're only exercising 2 times a week, we just stated in order to achieve heart health, you need 30 minutes of cardio a day, 5 days a week. We also mentioned that external factors such as stress, anxiety can affect us. So you need to make sure that your mental wellness is taken care of. And then also, you need to start paying attention to your foods and the things that you're eating. Because let's say you notice that all of a sudden one day you have spiked blood pressures, and then you just forgot that, oh, you had a bag of popcorn that
mm,
was high in salt, or you had a kettle of barbecue chips. Miss J, so you have to start identifying those things that cause you those elevations. And
right.
once you kind of make the appropriate changes for that, you can start to potentially get titrated off of your medication. But you have to start with identifying those areas where you need improvement, and then watching your blood pressure. And as you see, the blood pressure now went from 140 over 90, and now you have finally gotten to 120 over 80 because you're consistent with your exercise, with your self-care, and eating right. The next conversation you could have with your doctor is that, wow, I've been at 110 over 70 consistently on 10 milligrams. When can we talk about titrating?
Mm,
Because the next step down would be a 5 milligram. So if you're really adherent to those changes, then at 5 milligram, your body could positively respond.
absolutely. So I'm gonna just look. I have one of these right here,
Yes,
right
excellent.
here,
And
right
that's
here.
an arm
This
cuff, right? Because I don't like wrist. That's
it's an
arm.
arm cuff. It's an arm
Excellent.
cuff. It's an
Very
arm
good.
cuff. And so I check this in the morning, right? And you just take it. You can get this at any drugstore. I'm not gonna give anybody any free shout outs, but you can get this at any drugstore that's close to you. They're
Yes.
not very expensive, and you can just keep a track. And so what Dr. White is saying is keep a journal. Have a journal there, and take your blood pressure first thing in the morning, before you go to bed at night, and periodically throughout the day after you eat meals.
Chart.
Chart your blood pressure so that when you go see your doctor, and Cheryl, we're talking to you and other folks. When you go to your doctor, you are armed with information that you all can work together. Because if you just saying, "Have you been?" If he just comes in and say, "Have you been taking your medication?" You say yes, and then you check your blood pressure, and it's still high.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to come off.
You're
And the
not gonna
other
get it
thing
off.
is, I've gotten into juicing. So I've created my own community now where I'm doing my own thing with this is exactly why. So that's the whole lifestyle.
Mhm.
And the juicing piece is huge. So well, there's several, but one that's very good for lowering blood pressure are beets.
Mm.
Beets, beets. So I got my husband off of amlodipine, and I was able to do it, of course, with the lifestyle modifications. But I incorporated the beets. I have a
Mhm.
recipe. I incorporated the beets, and I juiced the beets. The beets basically have nitrates in them.
Mm.
Nitrates is a prescription. Nitrate is a prescription that people after they have a heart attack often will get to take if they feel a chest pain. And the reason why is because it will vasodilate those blood vessels, allowing pressure to go down. So the
Mm.
beets have this naturally, nitrates, right? It's also packed with a bunch of minerals and vitamins that are essential to your immune system. It also has betalain. Betalain gives it that red pigment, so it stains everything. So do not
Right.
be alarmed if you do beets and your poop may be red, or your pee may be a little orange, or your hands may be stained, because that is the betalain. But it has
Mm,
anti-cancerous benefits. Y'all, I'm telling you all, the lifestyle in the food is the prescription. We
yes.
just have to start shifting our mindset. It's not saying, well, how did that taste? So it's so funny. I had one of the nurses in my office because I had brought in some of the stuff I had made. And she was
Hmm.
like, well, that's fresh apple juice. I said, yes, it's actually apple, carrot, and it has ginger because that also has gut health and all that stuff in it. She goes, I said, you want to taste it? She says, oh my God, it is delicious. I promise you all, healthy food can taste very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've become an herb fiend, right? And so my wife always teases me because I buy those packets of herbs that you get in the store. And now you're right. I use less of the dry stuff, even though dried herbs are good, but I use the fresh.
Fresh.
And I'm chopping my fresh herbs. And
Yes.
wherever I can stick that in there, I
Yes.
stick it in there because I'm trying to offset, still trying to incorporate flavor because I'm still black, so I like the
Of
flavor
course.
food. I like flavor food,
Absolutely.
but I'm trying to get more healthy. And those herbs that you're talking about, those fresh herbs, I love sage, cilantro,
Yes.
garlic. I chop garlic. I buy the little jars if I ain't got the time to chop it. Garlic is my friend. Thyme. I use fresh thyme. I love that. Oregano. And I'm just a chopper food. Jalapeno. All of that. Those things that sprinkle into your food. And it doesn't even take long to get used to it because it adds such a great flavor. And you just try them out, understanding that you're doing this for your health. And so while you might miss that salt initially, that's for your flavor, that's for your mouth and for your ego. But that's not helping you in terms of your health. So I promise you, you will adjust very, very quickly. And you'll get to the point where now things taste salty. And I have a hard time going to certain restaurants because I realized how salty their foods were. So talk to us about how do we shop now, right? And what I've learned is the term somebody told me was shop the perimeter when you go into the grocery store, because grocery stores are typically laid out the same way, where they
Hmm.
put the freshest items on the perimeter. That's why you got your produce and then your dairy around the back and your meat and dairy around the backside and your juices and all your fresh stuff around the perimeter. So chop the perimeter, fill your cart up with all the good stuff before you go into the aisles, because the aisles is where you're going to find your
All the packaged processed
food,
stuff.
packaged food.
Yes.
So talk to people how they should be shopping and what they should be looking for on their labels.
So number one, you need to start with a list. You need a
Mm,
list. You need to be organized because y'all know how it is. I don't know about y'all, but if I go to the grocery store and I'm hungry, game over. You're gonna put
mm,
stuff in there that you know you have no business, right? So you want to start with the list. And
right.
remember, whenever you're making your plate for your daily plates, it should be majority fruits and vegetables. So remember,
Mhm.
a lot of these things do not keep beyond, let's say, 7 or 8 days. So I know for me, and it seems like a lot, I have to like shop by increments of 7 to 14 days. So literally, I'm not buying excess stuff that is not going to keep or hold. I
Right.
also will, once I make my list with my fresh fruit and vegetables, especially since I love to juice, I actually go ahead and make batches. And I like to do it on a Saturday or Sunday because if you're working a 12 or 14-hour day, then it
Hmm.
makes the week almost impossible. So you really honestly just have to get organized. So you
Yeah.
make your list. You actually, some people, like, I love the DeKalb Farmers Market because I can buy things fresh there. And I'll usually freeze. I'll get like a whole thing of salmon, just like one actual fillet. Y'all, it's
Hmm.
cheaper. And I will cut that sucker up and I will
Hmm.
go ahead and marinate that salmon. I'll marinate, let's say, 4 pieces. I'll go ahead and cook those and I'll freeze the rest. So you
Hmm.
have to plan accordingly based on the budget for the family, based
Right.
on the need for the family. Understand it gets expensive. It gets real expensive. So if you have to get some of those frozen vegetables, you
Yeah.
know, that are organic and you kind of mix it up with what you buy fresh, it's okay because it's better than that TV dinner or that
Mm.
microwavable dinner that you could have bought instead. So it's honestly planning accordingly. If it's fresh, that's what we want. Fresh food, fresh vegetable. If it's lean meats, it needs to be chicken and or fish.
Right. and skin off. You know, can I say that for my folks? If the chicken, take the skin off
Oh
if you
yeah,
can.
oh yeah. I thought you were talking about salmon, because salmon you want to keep that skin on.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
okay, you
yeah.
talk about the chicken. Okay,
Chicken.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yes.
skin off. I broke down, and so if you do find that you've got a couple of shekels, it's not very expensive. I broke down and bought a vacuum sealer. So what
That's a good
uh,
one too.
Dr. White is talking about. So you take that, you prepare for the week. Sundays is our food prep day, right? Because we're both very, very busy people. Everybody is. We run around, got kids. We got all the same life challenges that you got, right? You see, I'm here. We both here at night doing this program, right? So we both got life challenges. So on Sunday is prep day. So we get all our food out there. We pull out and we go shopping, and we come in and we season, vacuum seal it, put it in the freezer. So now not only is it ready when you thaw it, it's already seasoned and ready to go. And so then that way you just, all you have to do is worry about preparing it. It shortens that preparation time. And if you're eating fresh fruits and vegetables, there's cooking time reduces significantly.
And air fryers reduce it significantly. Like you said, we're not gonna plug no names, but I
Right.
will tell you, I have one that is like a oven. Okay, so
Mm,
I'm able to like just put whatever I want, and I can stack three different things on the tray at one time. So I can have a row of vegetables. I can have three pieces of salmon, and I could also put a whole nother vegetable.
mm,
Okay, or I could just put all vegetables, right? Three different vegetables, three lines. I use the virgin olive oil or avocado oil. I put my fresh herbs and my garlic. I toss them. I put that thing on air roast. Y'all, those Brussels sprouts, fire. Fire. You just, I'm telling you. So it's so good. Try it. Trust me. And then when I put the meat in, it's half the time, y'all. I just put it on the tray, and then I'll put that thing on air broil for the seafood.
mm.
And voila, literally within 15 minutes, I have dinner made. And it was nothing that was
Exactly.
artificial
You're not
about
standing over the stove. You're not flipping anything. You're not 15
done.
minutes in and done.
But
All
you
right.
have to plan.
Okay. So we've talked about the ways that diet, exercise, meditation, breathing. You could do that at your desk, whatever you're doing. If you're working, just start with deep breaths in, hold, blow it out. That just deep breathing, that'll slow everything down, lower your blood pressure. All
I
right. So
also want to say with the other foods, Ellis, you
mm,
have to also think grains. So grains are good, beans,
yes.
lentils are very good. Also, making sure to do like low dairy. I mean, we don't do dairy
Yeah.
for the most part in this house because number one, we have some lactose intolerant folk. But even as just human beings and people, we weren't really made to break down casein, which is a protein that is in milk. So we opt to use plant-based, like whether it could be cashew, it could be coconut milk, it could be
Mm,
almond milk.
right.
So be sensitive to that fact, because some of that dairy can cause you to have gut inflammation. If you eat dairy and you notice that your bowels become bloated, or you have diarrhea or loose stool, you likely could have lactose intolerance, which could cause inflammation to your gut. Pay attention to these things. Try substituting something like that for a coconut, almond, cashew, any of those substitutes, and see if you know a difference. And you can also do probiotics and prebiotics for that as well, to also
Yeah.
assist the gut health.
Folks, look, I like a milkshake with the best of them, but promise you that it ain't worth the bubbles. Okay, just tell you, just don't do it. All right, so we talked about some ways that you can lower the blood pressure. Let's talk about the hard stuff. What happens when somebody has uncontrolled blood pressure? What could potentially happen to their bodies if they don't get their blood pressure under control?
So first off, let's mention that there are five categories for blood pressure. So the first one we need to be aware of is just a normal blood pressure, which I told you was less than 120 over 80. The second one is where you're elevated if you're between 120 and 129, less than 80. And then by the time you get to stage one, your blood pressure is usually greater than 130 over 80. And then if you're at stage two, you're greater than 140 over 90. And then if you get to a hypertensive crisis, that top number is usually greater than 180, and that bottom number greater than 120. And believe it
Mm,
or not, because A lot of times people don't even know their blood pressure is up because they don't check it. That's why they call it a silent killer. So you need to know your numbers. People come into my office almost every day. I am diagnosing people with an elevated blood pressure. And I'm like, hey, we got to get control over this because this is happening in your body. What's happening? We just talked about when the force is high, it is literally banging at the insides, the linings of those blood vessels, causing damage. And when that damage occurs, this can lead to buildup of plaque formation. So atherosclerotic plaque formation. So remember how you guys get your lab work done, we look at your cholesterol levels and we say, okay, what was your LDL? The LDL is the bad cholesterol, right? The HDL, the good cholesterol, the triglyceride are the fats. Well, that LDL has a tendency to want to just accumulate and clog your vessel where you have that damage. So over time, you end up getting a clot potentially. And this is why you say, oh, wow, Johnny just passed out and had a heart attack just last month. Nobody knew because he didn't know his numbers, but there was an internal change happening in his body due to the damage that was being occurred by that force. Remember that force we talked about? Also know that if your heart is working harder, which we stated, when you have an elevated blood pressure, the muscles of the heart, remember your heart is a muscle, it gets bigger. And what that does is over time, it can reduce the chamber sizes inside your heart. So when you add all this room for that blood to fill up in your ventricles and your atria, now that space is reduced. And so that can actually lead, just like a pump, it can back up. And what happens? Fluid backs up. And that's why you have people with congestive heart failure because that pump failed. Your heart is a pump. Does that make sense? And so you have to know your numbers in order to be able to reduce the numbers. You know what a big thing too is alcohol, excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, and lack of sleep. Something, lack of sleep. So just think, if you are not getting rest, you are not allowing your body the time it needs to restore. So I say at minimum, because y'all, this is a challenge for me. Busy people, we gotta sleep. So I say, okay, you know what? If I can get 7, y'all, 7 hours, 8 is ideal, but sometimes you can only get 7. At least give yourself 7 hours. That is that restorative phase where your cells are repairing, your body is rebuilding. Y'all know how you feel when you get you about to cut somebody's head off, you're cranky, because you know why? You waking up in the red. You waking up in the red. So you have to allow your body time to rest and restore.
Well, you said it yourself, the word restore and restoration, the first 4 letters are rest, right? So you need rest in order to restore. That's part of the word. And so we have to get that, just to break it down even further. With that process, that sleep cycle, it takes about 3 hours to get to REM sleep, to go to sleep. REM, that's rapid eye movement. That's too technical, but really REM sleep is where you want to go to. Your body gets that full sleep state. You want to go through that cycle twice per night. So you're thinking about 3 hours per cycle. That's 6 hours. That's why the minimum is 7. For an adult, 7 to 9 hours is what is typically recommended in terms of sleep. And I know you could be saying to yourself right now when you heard that, oh, I can never sleep that much, right? And we understand our culture, American culture, wears lack of sleep as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Oh, I only had 3 hours of sleep last night. How many of us have heard somebody say that in a way that it was like, oh, I'm doing so well because I just 3 hours of sleep and I'm up here and I'm working and I'm doing what I need to do. It's not a badge of honor. You know what a badge of honor is? I got a full night's sleep last night and I'm rested and well prepared to kick this day off. Not that I'm dragging, I'm living off sleep 3 nights. So we've got to change the mindset of how we're approaching our health and not use lack of sleep as a badge of honor, but really as being disappointed when we don't get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night.
And that nutrition.
And a nap doesn't count. A nap doesn't count.
And that doesn't count. But that nutrition that we're talking about too, so that's what's going to fuel the process. So all of that nutrition, that good food that you gave your body early in the day when you're sleeping, that is going to actually help your cells to repair. You know, that's why we're talking about doing the multivitamin, which is going to have your vitamin D, your C, your zinc, your folate, your B vitamins. All of that matters, you all. it helps your cells to repair. That is what's going to actually help to fight off infection, because whenever you don't get enough sleep, what happens is your immune system starts to waver, right? So if your immune system goes down, which is supposed to fight, now all of a sudden you start feeling, I got a cold, right? Because your body's run down. So it
Yeah.
makes you're now susceptible to getting sick and getting infection. This is the same thing that chronic stress can do. So we have to find a way to have more balance in our mind, our body, and our spirit, for they are all connected
Mm.
and
Yeah,
they need nurturing. I can't treat a piece of you. I got to treat all of you. We need all this treatment, y'all. So don't ignore one piece of your health. It's a comprehensive approach.
it absolutely is, and that's where. And so, and you think about it. So, blood pressure is high. Dr. Candace talked about. All right, if you got high cholesterol, right, and that cholesterol starts floating around your body, and then it just wants to park somewhere. So now it's making your heart. You don't want that heart to get thickened, right? So she's talking about that heart muscle getting bigger. And most times when we think about our muscles getting bigger, we're like, that's a good thing. I want my muscles to stay strong, not that heart muscle, because you don't want those walls to thicken, because that makes it harder and harder to get that. And now you've got cardiac arrest. We know that terminology because what happened with the football player, we saw that live.
Mm.
Damar Hamlin, cardiac arrest, that was a freak accident. But the beautiful thing about his situation was he had rescue personnel right there on the sideline that was able to intervene immediately within less than 30 seconds, I believe, less than 45 seconds. They were able to intervene and start chest compressions. If you walking down the street, if you on your job, if you at your home, you don't have somebody EMS sitting right there ready to start chest compressions on you. And really the morbid side of that is, after 10 minutes, if you haven't started chest compressions, it's a cardiac arrest. It's different than a heart attack. That's a whole different thing. Cardiac arrest is very, very serious, and we're trying to prevent that. And that blood pressure is that silent killer because you don't know it's elevated. Cheryl, thank you for sharing your numbers there in the comments. That's high, 162 over 120.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
Miss Cheryl. That's
that,
that's too high, Miss Cheryl. That bottom number, 120, that's right there at the hypertensive crisis mark.
yeah,
So when that happens, you should seek immediate attention.
that's what it was this morning. And she said she just took it,
Oh,
and
it came down. Oh,
yeah, she's
good.
down 134 over 94.
Thank
Uh,
you, Jesus, Miss Carol. You're making me nervous. Okay, good. I'm glad it came down. We still need to work
yeah,
on that bottom number, but that is much, much better.
Yeah, because that 160 over 120, I'm like, you need to stop watching this program and take
Okay.
go to urgent care. You can watch this later. I need you to get right. So, what?
Is Miss Carol on medication?
Yeah, that's the one that was taking the
The amlodipine.
yes,
Oh,
and
okay.
she started on there, and this will be her first night to take blood pressure meds. Besides,
Oh,
uh,
I see.
yeah, so she's realized, so she's getting under control. So Cheryl, what I would say is, the advice we're saying tonight is start charting your exercise. Get yourself just one of these, right?
Hmm.
And a pen, and just chart what you're doing. Chart along with your blood pressure, chart how much you're exercising a day. And then when you go, the next time you go see your doctor for your 3 months, if they want to see you every 3 months or whatever, take that chart with you, right? And then you say, Doc, well, this is what I did on this day. And that doctor, one, you're helping your doctor. You,
Absolutely. No, it's because here's another thing that's so important, you all. I think we have forgotten that we play an active role in our care. We
mm,
get so accustomed with what somebody is providing. No, you are the patient. We have to advocate for ourselves. And so
mhm,
it is a partnership. It is a partnership. So you coming prepared with your numbers, being able to say, you know what? I take my blood pressure every morning when I wake up. These are my readings. I have been exercising 3 to 4 days a week. I have been sleeping and resting. I've been watching myself.
right.
That's how we want you to show up. Show
Yeah.
up empowered and informed. I don't like when you all show up and you say, I'm on this pink pill. I don't know what to do. No, that's not being empowered. That's not taking charge of your health. And if we want people to take us seriously on this journey, we have to take our care seriously by being informed about what we're actually doing as well and the role that we play in that partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful thing is technology can help you. There are a lot of wearables that you can have that can help you with this. There is your if you got Apple Watch, yep, it'll take your it'll monitor your blood pressure. It'll do
Heart rate.
It's got an
Guess what?
EKG on this.
EKG, let me tell y'all. So there's an EKG function on here. So I'll be very transparent. I created my own program for stress, chronic stress, and anxiety,
Right.
and, and because of being in a workplace, I'm like, you know what? I need a way to start tracking when I feel my heart rate going up. You all, again, we wasn't trying to plug, but when I tell y'all this is the business, whether you
Yeah.
have a Droid, I have an Apple, you can
Right.
do so much to be aware of what's happening in your body. Now, the EKG feature on here, it does not actually tell you if you're having a heart attack, people,
Right.
but it can tell you if you have an abnormal rhythm, like atrial fibrillation. It can tell you if you're, so a normal heart rate, you all, is between 60 and 100. Okay.
Yep.
Anything above 100 is considered tachycardic, meaning your heart rate is up. Anything below 60 is bradycardia, which means it is low. This will track that for you. So you'll be able to tell if you're getting anxious, if your vital signs are stable, if they're
Hmm.
elevated. So I would state that use the technology to help guide you and to give you more information. It'll
Yeah.
also track your steps. Something as easy as 10,000 steps a day. This will track that for you. If you can
Yep.
get 10,000 steps a day, you've actually met your mark for that day in the number of steps, so you can check a box. So we have
Yep.
to start utilizing with our busy lives, instead of um trying to get the closest park. I park furthest away from where I work.
Hmm.
I don't take elevators, I take the stairs. See how that works? We have to train ourselves to say, if we're so busy, how can we get more out of our day with such busy schedules? And guess what else I do? During lunch, I take a walk every day. Do you know how many of us are vitamin D deficient and don't even know it?
Mm.
And vitamin D deficiency can affect your mood, make you feel so fatigued. It affects your immune system. All this stuff we're talking about, it can make your joints hurt, your bones hurt. So make sure you all are seeing your doctor, because number one, they're going to monitor your pressure for you. You'll get a reading. But when you go for that physical, we're going to get a whole panel of blood work that is going to screen you for all things, not only your blood pressure, but diabetes, cholesterol, thyroid, the whole nine. So please, everybody needs a primary care provider.
Yes. Yes. Urgent care is not going to do it. Emergency care is
No,
not going to do
no.
it. Get a relationship with a primary care provider. So Audrey, I saw you say 10,000 steps is hard. There's ways to do it that you won't even think about it. One of the things I used to do um, pre-pandemic when I was working in the office was we created a contest
I love that.
amongst the office workers, and we did it for we would do it at 3 months at a time, and we would put together teams. So it'd be the front team versus the back team, or this team versus that team, and you put together a team of 3 or 4 people, and you would aggregate your steps, and your team would be your accountability partner, right? And so what we would do is, oh, got a ton, and we would get out and walk around the building. If you had a break, you'd walk around the building. Did you get your steps in? And everybody was walking, and they were walking at home, and you could tell because we all got on this Fitbit program, and we would see everybody's steps, and it motivated you. So because you didn't want to let the team down, and you wanted your team to win, and we would work with the boss, and they would set prizes.
I love
Uh,
that.
but in so there are creative ways, and you could do it with your family. You don't have to do it at work. You could do it with your family members, and y'all can create a list, and everybody's monitoring who's at the top of the leaderboard. If you're competitive like me, competition made me go through the roof. I had a little path that I knew I could get 1,500 steps, and I could do that path in 7 minutes, right? And so I would get those steps in, and I would do that 2 or 3 times a day.
But
So yes, ma'am.
everybody don't want to go ham like us. So you got to be realistic here. So she just said it's hard. So what I would say is you want to start small. So you're
Yeah.
gonna set an attainable goal. Because I do have, some patients say, you know what, Dr. White, I want to go, I want to get it done. So and I say, well, where are you starting? Where are you starting? Because what you do is, let's say you're getting 4,000 steps a day, right?
Right.
Because you got to track it to know where you're going. Start with saying, you know what, I'm gonna add on 1,000 steps. And I'm gonna do that for 2 weeks. And so I'm going to identify things that I do that I know I probably shouldn't do, like take the elevator or park a little further. When I go to the grocery store, y'all, we'll drive around for 5 minutes to find a spot that is closest to the grocery store. That
Big
is
car.
actually just going to the back where nobody's going to ding your car and mess up the paint and
Right.
just walk. I promise you, if you start making those conscious efforts, you're going to say, OMG, Dr. White, I am doing 8,000. And remember, my race, your race is no, it's your own race. You're
Mm.
racing against yourself. You are wanting the best health for you. What works for you, what looks good for you might not look good for somebody else, but that is okay.
Yeah.
It's just about us achieving a certain level of health and sustaining it. Because if you're sustaining 8,000 steps a day and it's not 10, I'm still happy.
Hmm.
But you can get there. You just set small, attainable goals.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So let's talk about, as we're getting close to the end of our hour, let's talk about the role, and you've mentioned it several times during our discussion, our mental health, right? And let's keep it on 100. Black folks, right?
Yeah.
We are being black in America is stressful enough, right? There's an elevated stress level by just being black in America, particularly now in the day and age where social media is creating this kind of shared PTSD. Every time we're watching, whether it's we're hearing a story about a mass shooting, or we're hearing a story, or we're seeing a Karen, and we've made it a joke, but when we see a black person being accosted or harassed just for being black in a
Mm,
space,
mm.
that's impacting us, and it impacts us to where it's almost stressful just coming outside your house, going to certain areas and be like, is somebody going to just harass me for being here? So
Yes.
what role does stress play
Mm.
in our blood pressure, and what are some of the ways outside, maybe breathing is one good way, meditation, do we get a control over those stress levels so we can help lower some of that blood pressure challenges?
Yeah, so thank you so much because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and
Yeah.
so many of us are suffering in silence. Thankfully, I do feel like we have started to do a little bit better as a community, just checking in with ourselves, checking in with family and friends,
Hmm.
because suicide rates are high.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are high, anxiety, depression, it's all there. And so I feel where this all starts is with checking in with yourself to know how you really feel. So, some
Hmm.
signs and symptoms of depression would be if you were sleeping too much, sleeping too little, eating too
Hmm.
much, eating too little,
Right.
not wanting to do the things that you used to love to do. Let's say you used to love to garden. All of a sudden, you don't want to garden anymore. You used to call and check on family and friends. Now you're not even talking on the phone. You
Yeah.
prefer to be left alone. You don't have energy. You feel fatigued. Your body is aching. You become tearful. You don't know why, but you just got emotional. You
Mm.
could be suffering from depression. And in regards to anxiety, if you are worrying constantly about things that you know you can't control, but you're still worrying, if
Mm.
it's starting to affect your day to day, your ability to focus, concentrate, you know, feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes you could be having a panic attack where your
Hmm.
heart rate goes up and you just feel your heart just racing and
Hmm.
your palms become sweaty. It could feel like impending doom. It could be anxiety. You all don't ignore it. This could be
Mm.
also affecting your blood pressure because what happens, and if I describe to you all, remember you're never alone because
Hmm.
we've all suffered from a lot of these things. But what happens is when it gets to a point to where it affects your ability to function, this is when you need to come see a person like me, a licensed clinical psychologist. You can come see your primary care physician. Y'all, everybody need a therapist.
Mm.
Everybody. You know, it's an opportunity to
Facts.
to come up with strategies. There is a website called psychologytoday.com. Psychologytoday.com. It is a great resource because you can go on here to find a licensed therapist, someone who may take your insurance. You can actually look at things like their gender, what people are saying. So please, so psychologytoday.com. So once you have identified that something is going on with you and something is not right, the next step is to not suffer in silence because
Right.
there is so much support available to you. You could start with your primary care provider. We got you. Know that we've got you. And also, don't be afraid that just because something like this is going on, that, oh, I'm crazy. No, you're not crazy. You're human.
Mm.
And just how we have to treat blood pressure, we have to treat our mental health. It's no different. Every piece of our body and spirit deserves nurturing. You are not going to just be slapped on medication because you express these things. We come up with a plan for each individual person. And a lot of the times, guess what, you all? It starts with therapy. Also, doing things like yoga. Yoga is so good for relieving stress. There
Hmm.
are also these isometric exercises. If you all get one of those hand grips, and studies have shown just by gripping while you're walking, not only does that isometric force help to lower the blood pressure, but it can also help to stabilize things. So we really just have to get into resetting our mindset, knowing that nothing is wrong because
Hmm.
you have something that is off in the mental aspect or space. You just need to seek a resource so that we can develop a plan for you. And again, back to that chronic stress, I already told you when that turns on, when you're chronically stressed, it doesn't turn off. And that's
Hmm.
what could lead to you having this tightness in your neck. You're like, man, I didn't fall, but my neck is so tight and my muscles feel like bricks. My gosh, my back has been hurting. My joints hurt. Do y'all see this? Your mind and your body are connected, and it can lead to a physical manifestation. And you around here thinking that it was something wrong when it was really what you were carrying that you need to let go.
Mm.
So sometimes it is what we are carrying that is causing the disease, the pain, and the hurt. So start with checking in with yourself.
And I would just add one more thing is that, and it could be blocking your recovery.
It is. No, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so you're saying I'm doing all these things and I'm not seeing any
Yes,
progress. Well, you
that's
might
why
need to release something.
you're gonna have to release something. You gotta be honest with what you're carrying. And let's just go,
Mhm.
since we're going real, let's just get real with it. So if you know you're still in that toxic relationship with
Mhm.
that person who is not honoring you, but is putting you down, causing you to feel stress and chaos in your life, you all, we got to do some inventory. And some of
Yes,
the inventory requires us to change some things and
yes.
understand to get comfortable. You got to get uncomfortable. But you have
Hmm.
to be willing to do the work and understand that you are loved, you are valuable, you are worthy. So, why are you allowing these things to take control of your life and impede you from living the life that you know that you deserve? So it's time to
Amen.
do the work. It's time to do the work. You have to, and it's mind, body, and spirit. It's not a piece of it. It's
Yeah.
mind, body, and spirit that needs nurturing.
So somebody, look, you ever seen that movie, The Purge?
The purge.
You might need to do a purge in your life, right?
And it's
And
okay.
and that's okay, right? And it's okay. You know, I would say my mom used to tell me people are in your life for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime, and you've got to make that decision, right? So when we're talking about purging, we're talking about purging food out of your pantry. Certain foods
Yes.
that are high in sodium, high in fats, high in
Got to
those
go.
sugars, purge that out. When we're talking about those meats that are unhealthy in your refrigerator, purge that out. Add, and so bring new fresh things in there, fresh foods, fresh vegetables, foods that are low in sodium, healthy whole grain foods. The more whole grain, the brown rice instead of the white rice. Purge the old stuff, bring in the new. And
Amen.
people too. Sometimes you got to purge. Even Beyonce told you, release your job. If your job is causing you too much stress, you might need to release it. Now, don't release it till you get another one.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Don't go crazy. Don't just release stuff and you got a replacement, especially something that's paying your bills. But understanding, and I'm joking, but I'm being serious,
Mhm.
that purge has to happen
Has to
because that
happen.
is the way that we get to holistic healing. And that's what Dr. Kansas is really illustrated on this broadcast tonight is it's about holistic healing. We're healing
Yes.
the mind, the body,
And the
and the
spirit.
spirit.
And we don't want to hear that, oh, but I love him. I love her.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
Love
mm-mm.
yourself more.
Yes.
Love yourself more. Show up for yourself because you
Yeah.
deserve it. You deserve everything that is good.
Amen. Because you can love them to your death. How about that?
Amen.
Okay, so if y'all didn't know, we also, yes, May is a lot of months, right? So May is
It's a lot of
mental,
months.
a
Yes.
lot of months. Mental Health Awareness Month It is High Blood Pressure Education Month. That's what we're just doing tonight, blood pressure education. It is also Skin Cancer Awareness Month. We did a show on skin cancer last night, talking about it in Black folks. Melanoma is killing Black folks too. Okay,
Oh, it
and
is.
it is very deadly and it's very rapid. Okay, and it happens, and it's not just due to the sun. All right, it happens in areas on Black folks. You got to look in areas that are not always you would think would be your palms, bottom of your feet, ears. Um, Look at your nail beds. So when you go get that pedicure, don't just look around. Don't just read your book and play on your phone while you're doing your feet. I get my feet done too, so
And
nothing
pay
wrong with that.
attention to that mole that's ugly, that's bleeding, that's
The
itchy,
mold.
that changes.
Yes.
Anything on your body that changes like that, that's why you need it. If you have a physical once a year, I keep telling y'all, we gonna catch a lot of this stuff. It's
Yeah.
when you don't go and you say, when I go, they find everything. Well, that's because you ain't been in. We need you to come see us. We're gonna care for you.
Yeah.
Don't ignore these changes or these things that are happening in your body, because your body often tells you what is going on.
And be honest when you go to the doctor. Be honest. If you're smoking, tell her you smoke.
Tell me.
Tell them you smoke. If you're drinking, tell her you drink, and don't shave off them couple of drinks. When you went binging on the weekends, because you know how we do it on the weekends a little differently than we do it during the week. Tell them all, right? If it's and average it out. So if it's
Because we're
more,
not here to judge, we're here to help. That's the
no,
thing. And I can't help you if you're negating things. But that's what I always tell people. You all want that rapport. You're building trust, right? Know that it is a HIPAA compliant situation. So it's not
Mhm.
going to be repeated. It's not going to leave the four walls. You're not going to be judged. We are just there to help and to provide you with the resources that you need and create a management plan to help you get the help if you need it to create healthier habits that are sustainable.
Right, absolutely. Well, we could go on because I love when Dr. Candace comes on because she keeps it real. And she really does care. And I promise you this: you follow her. She's written several books. She didn't I tell you she won one top doctor in Atlanta 3 years in a row. All right, she going for four. All right, so
If God's
yeah.
will.
So if you're in Atlanta metro area, look up Dr. White. If not, find you and have a relationship with a good primary care physician, right?
Yes.
And that relationship is a two-way street, right? The doctor doesn't have to earn your trust. What they have to do is vulnerability creates connection. And I'm saying this from a mental health standpoint. Vulnerability creates connection. And being vulnerable with your doctor means telling all the stuff that you do, the good and the bad, right? You're not there trying to beat the test that the doctor's giving you. So fasting a few days before you go to the doctor, trying to lose a couple pounds because you're gonna no, because that could create false readings, and your doctor may not even know what's going on with you because you tried to beat the test for the appointment. That's not a healthy relationship with your doctor. Go in and say, look, doc, I don't eat like I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to eat one scoop of ice cream and I end up with four. I'm supposed to tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth, and you'll have
Okay.
much better existence. So thank you so much. I'm gonna leave it at Auntie Five. Thank you so much.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have created my own mastermind. Is it okay if I share the link if anybody wanted to join?
Sure. Yes, please.
Okay, so it's going to be on Eventbrite. It's next Thursday and Friday night. I'm so excited, you all. I totally believe that we have to be able to utilize and share these resources, but create our own health literacy, and that's what I've done. I've listed the link, and I've created a 20% off code for all of our viewers, and that is Black Doctor 20. Black Doctor 20. So Black Doctor 20 is the code. So Black
Well,
Doctor.
yeah. I don't even know why my screen shifted like that, but I just put that link into the
Black
comment.
Doctor 20 is the code. So you all, because you all showed up for yourselves, I was like, I have to do something for you for showing up for yourself, because that's the first step. So I would love it if you would join me. Oh, I said it's Thursday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. this coming Thursday, and then 12 to 1:30 on the following Friday, which is May. Y'all, is going to be amazing. We have a general and a VIP. The VIP gets a 15-minute consultation with me. So you get me, we get to talk about some things. You'll also get your blood pressure toolkit. So I would love it if you all came to join me. And I'm excited to teach and journey with you.
Absolutely. Please, I promise you, it's going to be more of this, what you're getting tonight from Dr. Candace. So I don't know what just happened, but the Lord is not stopping us. We must be doing the Lord's work right now because the devil is really trying to get his work of me tonight from the beginning to the end. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to try to eat something healthy and drink some more water and get hydrated and just walk in. Dr. Candace.
Thank you all. Be blessed, you all. Take care of yourself and in love and in lifestyle.